Okay, get ready because today we're going deep into urgent normal syndrome.
UNS.
Yeah, UNS. The internet's calling it UNS.
Yeah.
And we've got like an article in a social media thread to kind of like go through.
Okay.
And it's kind of interesting. It's like,
Yeah.
so, just imagine like a woman finds a mask and she has a total meltdown.
Oh, wow.
Like tears, she throws it away.
Uh,
It sounds like so over the top, right?
yeah.
But it might point to something much deeper.
Right.
So that's what we're going to dive into today.
That's
What this whole UNS thing is,
Yeah.
what causes it, and maybe even like if you're experiencing it.
It's really interesting to me that it's not just
Yeah.
like a
Right.
passing internet thing.
Right.
It's like actually tapping into these like really basic psychological mechanisms that have been
Sure.
around forever.
So the article kind of lays out some specific signs of this, right?
Hmm.
And it's like this urge to be in crowded places.
Yeah.
Almost like you're drawn back to pre-pandemic days,
Mm.
but then like so anxious at the sight of a mask. It's
Yeah.
like your brain is playing tricks.
One of the things that's at play here is what we call normalcy bias.
Okay.
And it's like our brains are just kind of hardwired
Mhm.
to cling to what's familiar, even if it's not
Yeah.
the best thing anymore.
Yeah.
Like after 9/11, lots of people were afraid to fly,
Mm-hmm.
even though driving is statistically much more dangerous.
Right, yeah.
It took a while for people to kind of
Okay.
readjust their idea of normal risk.
So we're like
Yeah.
stuck in this time warp.
Yeah, trying to kind of force fit the present
Yeah.
into this mold that doesn't work anymore.
Like we've forgotten or we've
Yeah.
chosen to forget like how scary things were.
Right. Yeah, you hit on something else, which
Right.
is collective amnesia.
Okay.
And it's not that we literally don't remember,
Right.
but it's almost like a societal agreement
Yeah.
to downplay the uncomfortable parts of the past.
Right.
Like, think about after a war,
Okay.
there's this initial mourning
Uh-huh.
and reflection,
Yeah.
but then there's this push to move on and rebuild.
Yeah.
But if we sweep the lessons under the rug, we might repeat the same mistakes.
Okay, so normalcy bias makes us cling to the familiar.
Hmm.
Collective amnesia helps us like forget the bad stuff.
Yeah.
But there's something else too,
Yeah,
right?
there is.
Like this resistance to anything that
Disrupts.
Reactance.
Yeah. Like imagine if someone told you you absolutely could not do
Mhm.
something you always did without question.
Mm-hmm.
Your immediate reaction might be like, oh yeah, watch me.
Yeah.
And that's what we saw during the pandemic, right? With the
mhm.
resistance to mandates and lockdowns.
Yeah.
It was a pushback against being told what to do.
It's this tangled web of stuff pulling us in every direction.
It really is.
We want normalcy. We
Yeah.
downplay bad things. We
Right.
don't like it when things challenge us.
And all of this is playing out in real time on social media.
Right.
Like these comments we're looking at.
Yeah, they're like a textbook example.
Yeah, and it's so relatable.
Yeah.
It's everyday people trying to make sense of things.
Like this one comparing wearing a mask to putting on shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's just part of the routine. Like,
If I can convince myself this is normal,
yeah,
then maybe I don't have to worry so much.
it's no big deal.
Yeah. But pretending doesn't actually make it less dangerous.
Then there's this other one
Yeah.
comparing donating to cancer research
Right.
to like the efforts against COVID.
Yeah. Like, why bother if it doesn't make a difference?
Right.
That one really shows how helpless people feel.
Yeah.
When you have these really complex problems,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to just minimize the risk and not do anything.
Right.
If we tell ourselves our efforts don't matter,
Yeah.
we avoid the emotional burden.
But it doesn't make it go away.
Right.
So UNS is like,
It's a lot more pervasive than it looks.
it goes way beyond just the pandemic, right?
Absolutely.
Like it
Long
goes
zone.
to bigger trends.
Like this push for toxic positivity.
Okay.
The pressure to be happy all the time,
Yeah.
it creates this culture where we're afraid to acknowledge negative stuff.
It's like you have to walk around with this fake smile,
Yes.
even if the world is like falling apart,
Right.
and that makes us less resilient.
Yes. If we can't face the hard stuff,
Yeah.
we can't learn from it,
Okay.
and we can't grow.
So is UNS like this coping mechanism?
Yeah, it might feel good temporarily,
Yeah.
but it stops us from really engaging with reality.
Right. And are certain personality types more susceptible?
Well, the article says that introverts and neurodivergent
Okay.
folks might be less prone to it.
Okay. Why would that be?
Well, if you think about the characteristics, right,
Mm-hmm.
they're more sensitive to stimuli,
Okay.
they like to be alone,
Yeah.
they think independently,
Mm-hmm.
so they might not be swayed by social pressure
Oh.
to be a certain kind of normal.
But couldn't it be that they're just more comfortable alone?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
We can't overgeneralize, But it's fascinating to think about
Yeah.
how we're different as people
Right.
and how we respond to threats.
Mm-hmm.
What if some people are just wired to be more cautious?
Yeah.
Does that make them better at dealing with risks?
Interesting.
Or does it create more divisions
Yeah.
where some people are called alarmist
Right.
and others are in denial?
It feels like a new set of challenges.
Absolutely.
If we can't agree on what's a threat, how can we fix it?
It's the question we all need to think about.
Yeah.
We're living in a world that's always changing,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to be able to adapt.
So how do we address this UNS problem?
Well, the article talks about self-reflection,
Okay.
asking ourselves some hard questions
Oh.
to see if we're falling into the UNS trap.
So, like, the first step is knowing there's a problem.
Right. Self-awareness is key.
It's hard to challenge what you believe, though, right?
It is.
Especially if it's part of who you are, who you're with.
It can feel really threatening.
Where do we even begin?
It starts with mindfulness
Mhm.
and critical thinking.
Okay.
Mindfulness is about seeing your thoughts and feelings
Yeah.
without judging them.
Yeah.
It's about creating space between your reaction
Okay.
and your response.
So I don't ignore them, but I don't let them control me.
Right.
Like I'm in charge.
And that's where critical thinking comes in.
Okay.
It's about analyzing information, looking for bias,
Yeah.
asking questions, and coming to your own conclusions.
So I need to be like my own fact checker,
You
not just taking in whatever I hear.
Exactly.
I need them for myself.
We're bombarded with so much information.
Right.
And not all of it is good.
Right.
So being able to think critically
Yeah.
is so important these days.
UNS wants us to take the easy way out, though, doesn't it?
It does.
Just take the easy answers, even if they aren't quite right.
UNS wants certainty and control.
Yeah.
And it feeds on those algorithms and echo chambers.
It's like a perfect storm, right?
It really is.
The way we are, the information we get, the pressure to be normal.
That's why it's so important to talk about this.
Yeah.
We have to understand what's going on,
Mm.
both inside us and around us.
So it's about understanding and not blaming people.
Exactly. We're all susceptible.
Yeah.
But if we're aware of it,
Yeah.
if we practice mindfulness
Mm.
and critical thinking,
Yeah.
we can be stronger and better able to deal with change.
Okay, so that's me. But what about, like, everybody?
Right.
What if everyone's stuck in this loop?
UNS can make us resist change.
Even when we need it.
Exactly.
It's like we're on the Titanic rearranging the deck chairs.
I just love that.
Instead of steering away from the iceberg.
It's such a good analogy.
And we see that everywhere, right?
Yes.
Climate change, politics, just talking to each other.
If we can't agree on reality, we can't solve problems.
So UNS isn't just me, it's about us all.
Right. It's about our ability to work together.
So it's bigger than just psychology, then.
Yeah, it's about our ability to learn and adapt as a society.
And the article says it makes us less prepared
Yes.
for the next crisis.
We're so busy trying to get back to normal
Mm-hmm.
that we forget how fragile normal is.
Right, like the pandemic showed how fragile things are.
Exactly.
And if we don't learn from that,
Mhm.
we're going to make the same mistakes.
It's like building a house on sand.
Oh, I like that.
It looks fine for a while,
Yeah.
but eventually it collapses.
So UNS is about our ability to learn as a society.
Yes.
And the article mentions honesty and flexibility.
Those are key.
Can we even do that?
It's the million-dollar question.
It feels like we're at a crossroads.
We are.
We can go back to how things were,
Mm.
or we can do something new.
And that's a choice we all have to make.
Yeah,
Do we want comfort or progress?
that's a good question.
What kind of future do we want to build?
One that's ready for anything, I hope.
I hope so too.
Thanks for helping me understand all of this.
Of course, it's been a pleasure.
You know, it's been really eye-opening.
I'm glad.
I think we've covered a lot today.
Yeah, we've just scratched the surface.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I'm left thinking about, well, if normal is always changing,
Mm-hmm.
how do we decide what's worth fighting for?
Right.
What risks are okay to take?
Those are the big questions.
How do we balance individual freedom with what's good for everyone?
Yeah, there are no easy answers.
But maybe, just maybe,
Yeah,
recognizing this UNS thing
that's a good start.
is a good place to start.
It is.
So take a look around,
Mm-hmm.
examine your own reactions, ask yourself, am I holding on to something that's sinking?
Right.
Or am I learning how to swim?
Love it.
So it feels like we're at this point where we got to figure out if UNS is like holding us back.
Right.
How do we break free and actually build a future?
Well, the good news is
Okay.
awareness is half the battle.
Okay.
Once we see those UNS patterns,
Yeah.
we can make better choices.
So it's like we need to develop this normal radar
Exactly.
to see when we're falling back
Mhm.
into those old ways of thinking.
And it's not about judging ourselves.
Right.
It's human to want comfort.
Yeah.
But we got to ask ourselves,
Yeah.
is this fear, denial, or am I understanding what's happening?
But is it dangerous to just
Yeah.
label everything as UNS? Like, where's the line between questioning things
Right.
and just denying reality?
It's a great point.
There's got to be a line, right?
We shouldn't dismiss every critical thought
Right.
as just UNS.
Okay.
The key is how we engage with information.
Yeah.
Are we curious and open-minded,
Okay.
or are we just protecting our beliefs?
So it's not about what we're saying.
Yeah.
It's about how we're talking.
Yeah, like, are we trying to understand?
Right.
Or are we just trying to be right?
That's hard, though.
It is.
Having those tough conversations,
It's really hard.
it feels risky.
Like, we might be rejected
Yeah.
or judged.
It's easier to just stay with people who agree.
There's definitely safety in that.
Right.
But true growth
Yeah.
comes from going outside our comfort zone.
Okay, so how do we get that courage?
Yeah, the article talks about mindfulness and critical thinking.
Right, but what does that actually look like?
Mindfulness isn't just meditation.
Okay.
It's about paying attention
Yeah.
to our thoughts and feelings
Yeah.
without judgment.
Okay.
It's about noticing those UNS urges and not being controlled by them.
Like hitting the pause button
Yeah.
before I react.
Exactly.
I can take a minute and think.
Got it.
Okay, what's really going on here?
And that's where critical thinking comes in.
Okay.
Analyzing information, looking for biases,
Yeah.
questioning things, and coming to our own conclusions.
So I have to be my own fact checker. So important.
I can't just believe everything I hear.
Especially these days, there's just so much information.
And UNS loves that, doesn't it?
It does.
All that information overload.
It makes it easy to just grab the easy answers.
The ones that feel good even if they aren't, right?
Right.
UNS just wants us to feel certain and in control.
Yeah, and those algorithms feed us what we already believe.
It's like everything is working against us.
In a way, it is.
Our brains, the information, this pressure to be normal
But that's why these conversations are so important.
so we can understand it.
Yes, we have to understand UNS.
Not blame each other.
Right, it's about compassion, not judgment.
Okay, but what about the big picture?
Right, the societal impact.
If enough people are stuck,
Mm-hmm.
can we really fix things?
Well, that's the big question.
UNS makes us resist change.
Yeah, even when we need it most.
Like we're rearranging deck chairs on a sinking ship.
That's a great image.
And we see it everywhere, right?
Yes.
Like with climate change.
Absolutely. It's like no one wants to admit there's a problem.
It's easier to pretend everything's fine.
So it's not just about me, it's about all of us.
Right. It's about how we function as a society.
And the article said UNS makes us less prepared for the next crisis.
We're so focused on getting back to normal
Yeah.
that we don't realize how fragile it is.
Like, we learned that from the pandemic,
We did.
but are we really listening?
Hopefully we are.
So UNS is about our ability to learn and change as a society.
Yes, it's about our collective ability to adapt.
The article mentions honesty and flexibility.
Those are key.
Can we even do that?
It's a challenge, but
It feels like we're at a crossroads.
we are.
Do we go back to the old ways or try something new?
And that's a choice we have to make,
Yeah.
individually and as a society.
What kind of future do we want?
That's the question we all have to answer.
So it feels like we're at this point where it's like, cling to what was or like embrace what could be.
Right.
And if UNS is holding us back, how do we actually break free and build a future?
Huge question.
That's ready for anything.
One of the most powerful things we can do is
Yeah.
change the way we think about change.
Right.
Like instead of seeing change as this threat
Right.
to our normal,
Yeah.
what if we saw it as like an opportunity?
So instead of freaking out, it's
Yeah.
more like, okay, what can we learn?
Exactly.
How can we adapt?
And that takes trust.
Okay.
Trust in ourselves, trust in each other,
Yeah.
trust in the process.
But change is like unpredictable.
It is. We can't control everything.
Right.
But we can control how we react.
And that brings us back to each of us, right? Like,
Yeah.
if we want big change, it starts with us.
Absolutely.
How do we, like, get better at handling the unexpected?
Well, there are a lot of things that can help
Okay.
mindfulness, like we talked about.
Right.
It helps us be more aware.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not so reactive
Okay.
to every little change.
So I can, like, notice my feelings,
Yeah.
but not get swept away by them.
Exactly. You create that space between what happens
Yeah.
and how you react.
I can choose how to respond.
And I think it's also important to cultivate a growth mindset.
Okay. What's that?
It's the belief that we can always learn and grow.
So it's not
Yeah.
I'm bad at change.
Sure.
It's I can get better at this.
You got it.
It's a process, not like a one-time thing.
It is. We'll mess up sometimes.
Right.
We'll fall back into old habits.
It's like learning to ride a bike. You're going to fall.
Exactly.
But you get back up.
And the more you practice,
Yeah.
the better you get.
Okay, so that's me, but what about everybody?
Right. How do we change the culture?
You and us feel so big
It is, but it starts with us.
with each of us.
Yeah, those small acts of courage.
Okay.
Speaking up, challenging things,
Even when it's scary.
especially when it's scary.
Because real change doesn't happen
Right.
if we all just stay quiet.
It takes all of us working together.
So what would a UNS-aware society even look like?
I think we'd value curiosity more than being right.
Okay.
Critical thinking would be important.
Mm-hmm.
Leaders would admit when they don't know things.
Yeah.
We'd be able to talk about hard things.
Without all the drama.
Yes.
So we'd be more flexible.
More adaptable.
Yeah.
Ready for anything.
Change wouldn't be a bad thing. It'd be a part of life.
We can even be excited about it.
Exactly.
I like that.
I think that kind of society is possible.
I hope so.
It's not a fantasy. We can make it happen.
Well, that's a hopeful way to end our deep dive
It is.
into urgent normal syndrome.
It's been a great conversation.
But as always,
Yeah.
the conversation doesn't end here.
Keep thinking about these things.
Talk about it with people.
Share your experiences.
Ask those tough questions.
The more we talk,
Yeah.
the more we understand
And the better we can face the future.
together.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Until next time.